We are back with the Inside the Block podcast, which is a podcast dedicated to celebrating all of the unique businesses here in the warehouse block. And I'm really excited about today's episode because I'm here with Lara Levine, owner of the Salt Cave of Lexington. How are you?
I'm fine.
Good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Thanks for allowing us to come into your beautiful cave.
Oh, my pleasure.
I'm super excited that we got to film in here.
Yeah, me too. It can be difficult, so I'm glad you got to see it in the space. Yeah.
See it in action. Tell us about how you got into the world of salt.
Well, I think it was about 15 years ago. I was on a girls' trip, and we went to Asheville, North Carolina, which, you know, lots of prayers for Asheville right now.
Totally.
But that was the first time I'd ever encountered a salt cave. It's still there. It's called the Asheville Salt Cave. And it was a space similar to this where you feel very relaxed, and there's, you know, tons and tons of pink salt in the room. And we had a pretty fun weekend. So it was like Sunday morning before we were driving home, and we were tired and my allergies were kicking in really badly. And so we decided to do this session, not knowing what it was. And we just fell in love.
Like just on a whim?
Yeah, just totally on a whim. And we did a little session. It was like a 45-minute session, and a couple of us were on the floor, some of us were in chairs, and we just felt so relaxed and rejuvenated afterwards. And I could breathe, and I was like, this is amazing. So I kind of was just always really curious at that point, from that point on. And I had visited a few other ones, you know, after that, looking for something similar. And most of them were salt rooms, which are great. But I was kind of wanting that ambiance from that first experience.
Yeah.
And so then at some point, after going through yoga teacher training and learning more and more about holistic and, you know, healthy ways of living, I just decided I would do it myself. And it was during 2020 that I did a business plan, not knowing what it would be.
That was a great year for that, I bet.
It was. As I was working full time, I've been in sales and marketing, you know, ever since I moved to Lexington, and we didn't have much going on that year, as you can imagine. So I decided to do a business plan, and by August I had finished it and started looking for a space to lease. So I had my eye on this area from way back then.
Yeah, what do you like about the warehouse block?
I had been down here many times for like Mirror Twin and you know, Lucia's is another cute little shop, and I just like the location. I don't even live, you know, in this immediate area, but I'm close enough on this side of town. And I could see that it was growing, and it wasn't crazy busy, you know, like some of the other areas in Lexington where traffic's a problem.
Definitely.
And so I just started looking, or parking,
yeah.
Right. And it just seemed like a good spot. I don't know, maybe some intuition was involved,
Yeah,
but
sure it was.
Yeah.
So tell me about the cave itself. Like, what did it take to install this in this space?
Yeah, so I actually narrowed it down to 3 companies. There are actually companies and businesses that build caves like this: salt therapy rooms, salt therapy, you know, facilities. And there was a woman, her name is Dr. Margaret. She's Polish, and I had seen some of her caves, and they're all very organic feeling. They're very grounding. They look natural. So I had reached out to her, and she gave me a quote, and I ended up going with her. So she was our builder. I really wanted to go with someone who is an expert. There are some people that, oh, you can just build it yourself, but there's so many intricacies that go into it. You know, the airflow is a big deal because you need the salt to travel throughout the whole space. You have to have the right generator that grinds the salt. So there was just a lot of factors. And so, yeah, we hired her. It took her and a contractor about 3 weeks to build the interior of the cave. And we spent about a month prior to that framing things in and getting things ready in the reception area and all that. So, yeah.
So how long did it take from beginning to end?
Probably about 6 to 8 weeks. You know,
okay.
Probably, yeah, as far as the build out goes, it wasn't more than 8 weeks.
It shocks me. I mean, it's rocks. I thought it would be. I was like, this probably took them forever.
Yeah, it took them quite a while to actually place the rocks on the walls. Yeah. That was the longest process.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, and she had pallets and pallets of huge chunks of pink salt sitting out in the reception area for for that during that time frame. And they'd bring some in and they'd break it up into chunks, and they'd place each one almost like they build the fences here in the bluegrass.
Or almost like it's like bricks. I mean, you have to kind of like place them in a certain
all
way.
Together.
Yeah. Like a puzzle piece. So tell me about salt therapy. So what are the benefits of salt? Like from as little as I have looked into it, knowing that I was going to be coming here and hearing all about it, it's shocking to me the amount of things that salt can help. I mean, from eczema to respiratory. I mean, tell me the process. I mean, what is it great for, and how and in what ways does the salt cave like help?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's important to note that salt therapy has not been evaluated or approved by the FDA. So we definitely don't say that it can treat or cure any medical issues. However, that being said, it's been around since the 1800s. And it was discovered in Poland. And so there are a lot of medical studies that have been done around the world. And those studies do prove its efficacy for all kinds of respiratory issues and skin issues. So we really just recommend that people check with their doctor, but use it as a complementary wellness modality. Basically, it can help with anything respiratory. The way that the salt works is as you breathe in these microscopic particles, it's absorbing things in your respiratory system that shouldn't be there. So definitely great for allergies. It's also helping to thin mucus. All the salt is antibacterial and antifungal, and it's anti-inflammatory. So it can reduce swelling. It can, soothe and kind of help you feel better as far as, when you remember growing up as a kid, you had, gargle with salt water if you have a sore throat, or people would do neti pots to clear out their nose, or the saline rinses in their nose and their sinuses. That's all the same theory, but the difference is with halotherapy or dry salt therapy, the particles are dry and they're microscopic, and so they're very, very absorbent. So they're able to cleanse and clear a little more effectively than a saline solution could. So yeah, that's the basic. I mean, you're right. Eczema, psoriasis, acne, because of the antibacterial and anti-inflammatory properties, it's all great for skin. They say it helps to regenerate the cells underneath the skin as it absorbs. And then for respiratory, things like COPD, bronchitis, sinusitis, all kinds of allergies, asthma, even cystic fibrosis, people can benefit and help relieve some of those symptoms.
It's really incredible.
Yeah,
it's like a Swiss Army knife.
It kind of is. I know. I know it sounds like the Ginzu knife, right?
Yeah.
Cuts and chops it.
Yeah, slices, dices.
Yeah, exactly. And it is important to note that we use pharmaceutical grade salt in the air. So even though we're surrounded by the pink salt, which is beautiful and very calming and grounding, the salt that you're breathing in is actually the pharmaceutical grade sodium chloride. So there's no additives to that. It's not table salt. You would never want to inhale table salt. Not good.
See, stupid me. I was like, well, I have tons of salt at home. Yeah. I'll just figure out what
so people probably don't realize how much, there are so many additives in over-the-counter table salt. So, yeah.
Well, and I'm hearing, too, that sea salt's not the greatest anymore either because of all of the microplastics in the ocean.
Yes, we're hearing a lot of that.
Yeah.
That's one reason they do say that pink salt can be better for culinary use because it's 250 million years old. So there was no plastic back then, thankfully. So
God willing.
It is full of trace minerals, so that's what gives it the color, but otherwise it's extremely pure. So it's healthy for you as far as what you're ingesting in the body. And it's got a deeper flavor profile, so you tend to use less of it on your food. So that's another good advantage to eating it.
Yes, definitely. My husband, who is from Denmark, they're kind of heavy drinkers in Denmark. And they do this thing at the end of the night after, you've been out, your friends and everything. They'll come home and pour an entire glass of water and then put a ton of salt in it. And drink all of that before bed. And they claim, it for sure soaks up anything and you don't have a hangover.
Yes.
And they religiously kind of do this, which I always thought was interesting too. When you were thinking about all the different ways that salt is so, I don't know, it absorbs, as you were saying, absorbs these things, toxins and things that, I don't know.
Yeah, so, salt does soothe inflammation, and it does absorb toxins or absorb, whatever is in its way, basically.
Sure.
And I have heard of salt loading, which is just that, and there are people who drink what's called Soleil water, which is pink salt chunks in a jar of water until the water is saturated. And then you put a teaspoon in a glass of warm water and drink it in the morning. And a lot of people swear by that. There's also all kinds of hydration, products out there now that use a ton of sodium.
Yeah,
not literally a ton, but
all the kids these days, they're all into like having Pedialyte, and drinking a lot of, the stuff that you would give children whenever they're dehydrated. It tastes so salty.
Yeah.
There's got to be, I think, an extraordinary amount of some sort of salt in that too for the same kind of properties.
Exactly. Yeah. They say salt, sodium chloride, or some kind of sodium, potassium, and magnesium. Those three in combination are really good electrolyte. Yeah. So we carry some of that, of course.
Of course. Yeah.
We've got to. But salt therapy is really, what I found for me personally was the allergy relief was just incredible.
What are you allergic to?
It's just environmental. Yeah. Pollen, molds, and mildews are big for me in the fall, and sometimes even in the early winter when it's damp, and that's when I really notice it. Sometimes in the spring, just general pollen. And I used to take the over-the-counter medications. I honestly just had a really hard time tolerating them. I would either get really super hyped up and, heart racing and
like a stimulant.
Like a stimulant, or it would knock me out and I just couldn't function. So, half a Benadryl at night would knock me out for 9 hours. Whereas like during the day, I'd feel bad if I took too much. And then I took it for a while just to, try. And my doctor, said, just take it, for a few weeks until you get used to it. And then I forgot the pill one day, and I was driving around because I had a job where I drove all over Kentucky, and I got the worst migraine I've ever had. I don't get migraines. It's not a norm for me. And I had to pull over and rest because I couldn't see straight. My stomach hurt, and I couldn't figure it out until I got home and realized I hadn't taken my allergy pill. So I asked my doctor, and she said, well, yeah, that might have been a side effect. It's like a withdrawal. And I'm like, that is just not something I want to deal with.
No, it doesn't seem quite normal.
No, and that's not the case for everybody. There's a lot of people who take them very successfully, and it helps. But for me, it just didn't work.
Some adverse reactions, yeah.
So the saline rinses and the salt therapy were about the only things that, really helped me breathe regularly, on a regular basis and feel like I was clear.
Yeah. It's incredible. So do you get a lot of your customer base coming in for relief with allergies, or just and tell us what does everybody do here in the cave?
Oh yeah.
My original thought was you go and you sit and you breathe, but you're doing classes and community building and wellness. Tell us everything.
Yeah, that's a great question. So all the physical benefits that you receive are great. Like those are all, and there's a lot of good studies, like I said, that support it, even though it's not a medical treatment of any kind. But another reason that I loved the space in Asheville and why I wanted to emulate it was because going through yoga teacher training and getting more into mindfulness and meditation, I really was starting to feel the value of all that. Yeah. And so the space itself lends you to be able to calm your body, help your mind relax. It's a very grounding space, so you just tend to relax a little more easily in here. And we hear that all the time. Yeah. So people do come in, a lot of people come in for the respiratory benefits, but afterwards they'll say that's the most relaxed I've been ever. Or, I'm not a person who can sit still very easily, but I felt so calm in there. And we hear that so much. That's a big part of why I do this now, because I just love seeing people, experience that. Yeah. So we started adding things like a gentle yoga class. We do a restorative class. We have some guided meditations, things like that. We do a monthly sound bath with a local sound healer.
What is a sound bath?
So that's amazing. So a sound bath typically is when a sound healer comes and brings various types of instruments. Usually they bring gongs, sound bowls, like the crystal singing bowls.
Where there's wood going around the rim.
Yeah, and then they bring, he brings a hand pan, chimes, all kinds of different instruments that provide vibration and frequency. And that is supposed to kind of absorb into your body and just initiates a really deep relaxation.
Along with the salt. That's
Yes,
also
and we also get the salt
too.
therapy while you're in here.
Very cool.
Yeah, so that's been a really good addition. We
Once a
started that
month?
right away. Yeah, every month. Towards the end of the month, every now and then our schedule changes, but we do it every month.
Cool.
So that's great. And then we have some, just some special workshops from time to time. We have a hypnotist that's doing a guided hypnosis meditation. She does that periodically.
For a whole class?
Yeah,
Or
for a group class.
Okay.
Yeah, a little group.
Neat.
It's more like a meditation. We have another meditation teacher that comes and leads some guided meditation. We have massages in here. We do that on Mondays. And then we have a Reiki master, which is an energy healing modality. Yeah.
I like Reiki.
Yeah, so those are just some of the things we've done. We have a breathwork class too. We don't do as many of those because there aren't as many qualified practitioners just locally. I'm sure there's plenty regionally, and I've had some amazing sessions with some of them, but they're in high demand. So
I'd imagine.
So yeah, the sound healing is one of our most popular events. We also have a breathwork class. We'll do that, rarely but periodically. A breathwork in the cave is an amazing way to experience it. And then we do massages on Mondays. Mm-hmm. We have a Reiki master that does private one-on-one sessions in here as well. So
yeah. Very cool.
Thank
so
you.
if I were to have like a group of friends and we wanted to come in and experience one of the, could we do like a private session? Mm-hmm. So do you do those as well?
We do. There's a couple of different ways. We do a lot of corporate groups too, and sometimes we can add on things like a mini sound healing session with the private group, or a yoga class, or rotating chair massage, different things. Right now, the way our system works, you can actually book any of our regular sessions. You can make them a private session by booking online. Mm-hmm. You just have to make sure that you choose one that's empty, and then you click a button in there that gives you a little discount, because if you book all 6 spots, it would be more expensive. Okay. And then that's a private session for you. And if you want a longer session, you just give us a call and we set it up on the schedule and get you in for a longer session.
So are most group sessions for most of these classes that you mentioned about 6 people?
No, actually we've had up to 10, and we've actually had a few more on occasion. But we say that you can bring up to 10 people. We do have 6 zero gravity chairs. So there's the reclining beach chairs, super comfy. But if you have 10 people and we have 6 chairs, there are going to be 4 people sitting on the floor. But a lot of people prefer the floor.
Yeah, and the floor is really, tell me about the floor, because it's a really incredible addition to this space.
Yeah, so our floor is covered with about 5 inches of crystal Himalayan salt. So it's kind of feels good on your feet. It makes it more grounding. It's comfy because you can kind of nestle down in it. So we can provide floor pillows or yoga bolsters or whatever people need to get comfy down on the floor. Mm-hmm.
And there's so many like cool designs in it right now too. I love that.
That's my Zen therapy.
Yes, awesome.
Crawl around and draw designs on the salt.
All of the really amazing designs. That's great.
Yeah. I love private sessions. That's one of my favorite things that we do offer, because it's just such a nice way to connect with your friends or family or even your coworkers.
Totally.
There's no distractions in here other than if you're doing a class of some kind. I've had people do team building in here. I've had people do brainstorming, sessions. Oh. It just lends itself to a very personal, intimate experience.
Or even like a writer's workshop. I can see that working really beautifully in here.
Yeah.
That'd be cool too.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like such a healing spot, I think, too, for people to come and kind of get away from. I mean, this has been a tough year for a lot of people for so many reasons, especially, the fall was just our country was at like,
our nervous systems have been through it for sure. No matter what side of the fence you're on, there was so much contentiousness, and we were all being bombarded by constant, news cycles, and
you couldn't escape it.
No, you really couldn't. So we really do. that's one thing, like our team and myself, we just welcome people in that just need a nervous system reset. You know, they just need to get some space, they want some time alone perhaps, or even in a group session, you feel like, you know, you have your own space. We don't crowd this room with a lot of people for our regular community sessions. It's, you know, very low light in here, so you can really kind of retreat within yourself and either meditate or nap or, you know, sit quietly and look at the stars. Yeah. We have twinkling stars above.
I know.
Yeah, so that's a big goal of mine, is to offer a space for people to come in and just let go and relax and find some rest and stillness.
Yeah, well, it's such a cool job. I mean, because you get to like really like help people along that journey. Yeah. You know? You're not like somebody who's making life more difficult. You're making it so much better for so many
well,
people.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, that really is, it's probably the best thing I feel like I've ever done. And I was, you know, I came to Kentucky because of the horses, because I'm a horse girl. And
oh, I didn't know this. From
yes.
where? Ohio.
Ohio, yeah. I moved here from northeastern Ohio, right out of college. Moved here because of the horses, and I ended up working in the horse industry, the racing industry specifically, for my entire career. I was in sales and marketing. I was in production for a while. Did websites and video.
Yeah. So you like had a lot of stress, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was like any sales job. It comes with a lot of stress and pressure. Of course, it was a great industry to be involved in, and I got to do some amazing things. So I'm forever thankful for that. But yeah, at some point, and you know, I have 2 kids, they're grown and out of the house, and I just decided it was time to do something different. Yeah.
What a direction.
Yeah, it was a total 360, I guess.
I love it. Yeah,
180. I guess 360 is all the way back to where you started.
We're racing in the cave.
Obviously not a math person.
I love it. So how long, so you've been in Lexington?
Oh, about 30 years.
About 30 years.
Yeah,
cool.
Quite a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm giving away my age now, but yeah, I've moved here about 30 years ago.
Your secret's safe in the cave. Yeah.
Yeah. What happens in the cave
stays in the cave. Most definitely.
Yeah, but it was exciting. I mean, I kept my job for the first year, and I worked from home anyways. And of course, it was 2021, and things were just recovering from the pandemic, and the racing industry was recovering slowly as well. I mean, everything kind of had shut down, including that. And you know, that first year was a little rough because I was juggling 2 full-time things. But after that first year, I made the decision that, you know, it was time to go ahead and leave that other life behind. And, you know, I still dally, you know, I still enjoy the horses and love the animals. That's really why I got into it in the first place.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Very, very
And they
cool.
do salt therapy for horses as well. I don't know if you knew that. Yeah.
No.
We don't provide that here, but
I was going to say, do they come in?
Yeah, they come in and get all grounded, but
they like love the salt under their hooves.
Right, they probably would lick it.
Yeah.
But the 2 major vet clinics in the area have salt therapy options, and some trainers use it. I actually had a horse trainer come in and buy some of our pharmaceutical salt because they had run out and they were in need of some fast. So we sold it to them for their horse halotherapy.
Love that.
Yeah.
So what would you say are some challenges as a small business owner in this field or in general?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and I'm sure I speak for a lot of small business owners. I mean, getting the word out is probably the biggest challenge because, you know, typically you don't have a lot of advertising dollars. We do have a couple of spots that we're regularly advertising in, and because I come from an advertising and marketing background, I know how important it is, and I know it's important to have, you know, some repetition.
Totally. I think that shines through with your social media. I think you're excellent.
I appreciate that.
With the old Instagram.
Yeah, and Instagram and Facebook are great options. You know, the challenge with those is that they're constantly changing.
Definitely.
The minute you think you have it figured out, you're like, wait, nobody's seeing any of my posts.
Nope, and I put in so much effort into this one post or whatever,
Yeah, so I actually was very lucky to get involved with a business accelerator course before I ever opened. It was during my phase where I was doing the business plan. and it was called the Soulful Business Accelerator. It's not available anymore, but there's a woman locally. Her name is Bethany Bubenzer, and she's terrific. She still does group coaching and one-on-one coaching, and she is one of the best business coaches I've ever worked with. But there are so many good ones. So that's kind of a must. I feel like that's a great investment for any small business owner if you can find the right business coach initially, because think of it as an investment. It's not even an expense because you are going to get back what you put into that.
Yeah.
But
that's great
advice. That's the biggest challenge I have, because there's still people walking in our doors that say, I've never heard of you, and we've been open for going on 4 years.
Yeah.
And I get that. It's not something that people have ever heard of, most people. And it's like when I found the Salt Cave in Asheville, I had never heard of it. Yeah. So we just keep getting the word out there in creative ways if we can, collaborations and social media and some paid advertising.
I'm sure you have some really great word of mouth too, because I know you have a very loyal customer base.
Yes, that's the easiest thing we do is word of mouth, because there's no effort in that.
Sure, yeah. It's like just provide a great service.
Providing the great service, yeah. And I love our customers. Like, we have the best customers. They are amazing people. So many.
I was lucky enough to get to meet one. I came in to talk to you the other day, and she was in describe that. It was, do you remember this?
Oh, the tent?
The tent. It was her own private salt tent. And I was like, what is this, The Boy in the Bubble? Like that old movie with John Travolta. She was in her own bubble tent.
Yes.
I was like, what's going on? I want to be a part of it.
We actually we call it the Express Salt Tent. It's actually a mobile tent, and I got it so I could take it to health fairs. And we've taken it to a few health fairs, and it's usually a big hit. And then, when talking with other Salt Cave owners, yes, there's a whole network of us across the country.
I can't imagine how chill you all are. It's like, no, it's fine.
Right. It's like, hey, let's share information.
Yeah. That's cool.
And everybody was saying, this is a great option for people who don't have time to sit in the Salt Cave, because it's the same treatment, but it's concentrated into 10 or 15 minutes.
Huh.
So
Salt Express.
It's Salt Express. It's super intense, but it's the same end result. It's not as pleasant, in my opinion, because
how so?
You'll get a little tingle in your nose. Some people will cough a little. Some people will, your noses will start to run. But the salt is absorbing just much more quickly, and that's why, because it's concentrated.
Like a shot.
Yeah. But it does the job. And I'll sit in there when I don't have time to come in here if we've had a busy week or something and get my dose.
Yeah, definitely. It's like salt on the go for the busy.
It is.
The busy
it's totally
person.
that.
Yeah.
So down the road, I'd love to have an actual booth, because they sell it's just a little nicer presentation than the tent.
Definitely.
But it's your own little private halotherapy unit.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Do you think that more people? Do you find an uptick in business in the winter?
Yes, we definitely do.
I can see
Actually,
that.
It starts in the fall. It kind of goes through winter and early spring months. Summer's quieter, and that's typical, I think, of
just all businesses,
but also wellness businesses in general, because people are traveling and people want to be outside.
Right. But the days are so long, so you're getting all that vitamin D.
Yes.
That's what I bet.
People are feeling mentally better.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and I do feel like we offer a lot of mental wellness in what we're offering as well, just even just the classes that we offer. And you're right, people need that more in the winter most of the time.
That's what I was saying. I was like, I'm for sure signing up for things. And then in my head, I was like, oh, I'm so excited it'll be in the winter, which is usually when I'm feeling a lot more icky.
Yeah.
And just some seasonal depression here and there, just why is it pitch black at 5 p.m.? It doesn't seem legal or right,
Yes.
So,
and it's
I think coming here,
I
just really look forward to it and be like, oh, that's going to make me feel better. Lighting is so important, I think, so.
Yeah, and they sell the seasonal affective disorder lamps that are great. I actually have one that I stick on my desk at home.
Yeah.
And I'm not an early morning person, so we open at 11 on a weekday, and so I have a slower morning at home, but I always use that lamp once the days get really short.
Yeah.
And you can come in here too and just feel really grounded.
Yes.
And there's some people that say the salt releases negative ions when it's warmed or ground up like we do. There's unfortunately no studies to support that, but people do feel a sense of wellness when they're in the space, even before we turn on the salt.
Yeah. No, I sense it.
Yeah.
I know what you
So
mean.
that could be the case. Negative ions are known, like people do know that they do help produce positive emotions. And that's what you get when you're at the ocean and the water's crashing on the beach, or a waterfall on a hike. So it's the same sense of that sort of mental wellness that you get, from being out in nature.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, and speaking of lamps, I mean, you sell so many really cool holistic like aids here too. Tell us about some of the things.
Yeah, so we stick with the salt theme, and all of our products are salt themed or respiratory themed. So we have great bath and body products that include salt. We have bath bombs, shower steamers, bath salts of different kind. We are really particular about ingredients, so we only use companies that do natural. There's no testing on animals. It's pure essential oils, no fragrance, no colors, unless it's natural. And we try to do small batch if we can. Women owned. A lot of our businesses are women owned.
Yeah.
And then we have the salt lamps, which salt lamps are imported, obviously.
Yeah.
They come from the foothills of the Himalayan mountains.
Cool.
And that's where most of the major salt mines are. And of course, it's a healthy endeavor. The miners breathe in the salt, and that keeps them healthy. And that's how they actually discovered salt therapy in the first place. So,
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Cool.
But yeah, we carry all those products. We carry culinary salt. So we have the coarse ground that you can put in a grinder, and then we have the fine ground you can use. And we even have like a little flake salt for dressing.
Right.
Yeah.
The whole gamut.
We have
of
chocolates with salt,
So
and
good.
we have the salt packets for hydration.
There's nothing better than a salted caramel.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's on
salted chocolate is one of my favorites. Yeah.
It just perks everything up.
Yeah.
Salt does, doesn't it?
Yeah, it totally does. And I've been cooking with the pink salt for many years, even before I ever opened the cave. But I do think it has a better taste to it, and there's no additives, which is really important.
Very, very important.
Yeah, the salt mines are interesting. That's a bucket list thing of mine.
Yeah.
The pink salt mines you can tour them. They're all lit and they're beautiful, and I've seen pictures. And then there's also a white salt mine in Poland, and that's the one where they actually discovered the salt therapy benefits. That one's in Waliczka, and they've got cathedrals carved in the salt in there. It's supposed to be just amazing.
Oh, I'm sure it's like a religious experience.
It probably is, especially if you like salt. But
yeah, for you it'd be like Mecca.
Yeah, salt Mecca. But yeah, this was back in the 1800s. There was a physician, and he noticed that the salt miners weren't getting sick like the regular general population. Of course, back then they had a lot less options too for treatments. And so he was curious and started studying them, and discovered it was because they were breathing salt in. And he opened a clinic in that salt mine, and decided to, start moving patients in that had respiratory issues, and it helped them. So he was the discoverer of salt therapy, which is now called halotherapy.
Well, it sounds like you need to create like a group of us that goes over and
sees that would be wonderful.
Yeah, wouldn't that be neat? Get some of your dedicated customer base here too,
do a retreat.
Absolutely,
good idea.
100%. I'm in. I thought of it,
Whoever's
so I get to go.
Yeah, you get to go. It'll be our first call.
Yes.
Yeah, that, and then we've also had a ton of requests for sleepovers in the cave, which I have not yet managed to figure out, but we will someday figure that out.
That would be really cool.
Yeah, sleepovers in the cave are a big request.
Big request. I could see that. I never even would think that would be a possibility.
Yeah.
But people are just getting greedy and want tons and tons of time in here. They want a whole night of this therapy.
They're like, we just want to stay here all night.
Yeah, we want to live in your cave.
It'll be a lock-in or something.
Yes.
Do it. Oh, yeah. So we try to offer, as many options for people, whether it's meditation or yoga or just sitting in here and breathing.
Yeah.
Of course, we do ionic foot soaks as well. That's one of our
What's an ionic foot soak?
So
you had me at foot soak.
Yeah, so it is a foot soak. It's 30 minutes of soaking your feet in warm water, and it's a little salt water mix. It's just salt and water, and we offer some essential oils too, just for aromatherapy. And then there's a little ionic array that goes down in the water. So the theory is that this ionic array reverses the ions in the water, and then because you're connected to the water and your body is made of water, your body then reacts to that by helping to better detox itself. A lot of people think that it's sucking toxins through the feet and the water changes all these colors. That's not really what's happening, and so I always try to be really clear about that because it's really more of a chemical reaction in the water, and that's due to the salt and the electricity that's in the water, and then of course anything that might be in the dermal layers of the feet or what's on your skin. But overall, the process feels really good.
Yeah.
Some people notice that they just feel lighter or better, or they sleep better. Whether that's, psychosomatic or not, it doesn't matter. If you feel better, then it's something that's for you.
Worked, absolutely.
So we do offer those, and we get a lot of people that, enjoy it and do it regularly, and it's great for, the theory is that it's helping to cleanse your system a little more effectively. It's a relaxing 30 minutes. And
for
so
sure.
that's another little service that we offer.
So if, and I am, but for those that are interested in signing up and have never ever been in the Salt Cave, like how's the best way to go about figuring out the services that you offer and signing up, and any tips for like first timers?
Yeah, great questions.
Yeah.
We have a website, so you can always go to our website and look at our services. We do have them listed on one page that kind of lists everything that we offer. And when
Salt Cave Lex.
It's actually lexsaltcave.com.
Lexsaltcave.com.
Yep, lexsaltcave.com. And once you're there, there's an events page, there's a services page, there's a pricing page. Everything is laid out.
I think you have
Hopefully,
a beautiful website.
Good,
no,
thank you.
It's very well. I mean, as soon as you're like, and I did marketing, and I was like, oh, this is
I had
all.
a great designer too.
Oh,
She
okay.
was fantastic. So we worked together. But yeah.
But it's
and coming from a web background helped too.
Oh, I'm sure. And that's what I was like. This is pro. This is very. But it's
Well,
also beautifully done. But it's also, you get really into all of the literature behind and all of the
Yeah, there's probably too much information
No.
on there, but
I not for me. I loved it. I think
But
it's better to
I'm
put out
glad.
too much than too little.
that's how I looked at it. There's
Yeah.
even a research document on there for people who want to see what research has been done. It's a PDF file and it's like 100 pages. So have at it. If you like that kind of thing, go for it.
Yes.
So that's an option. But yeah, everything is on there. You can book everything online except for our sauna and salt combo, because the sauna is owned by Centered, which is our sister space.
Yes,
We
you're
share the
connected.
space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that one you need to call, but you can call and we can book. It's a 30-minute infrared sauna session followed by a regular salt therapy
Over
session.
at Centered
Yeah.
is the sauna, and then you come over here.
Yeah, so it's in the same space.
building,
But yeah,
absolutely,
it's just
yeah.
down the hall.
That sounds
Yeah,
really
so
amazing,
that's
'cause
a
you're kinda
great combo as
yeah.
well. Yeah, sauna, and that's also a good respiratory combo or pulmonary
I'm
combo.
sure.
Yeah, because you get the benefits of that infrared heat, and then you come in here and soak up the salt. And so that, and then you can book appointments, regular appointments. We have a schedule of what's available. The foot soaks are on there. Any of our events or yoga classes are listed on there, and you can book all of those as well. And massages and. And you can just call us if it's too overwhelming. I always just tell people, just call us.
Yes.
Yeah, it's no problem. We try to answer the phone.
Yes. Just call and ask for Lara.
We're closed Mondays.
Okay. Yeah. Great. And so, for my first session, I mean, depending on what it is, what should I wear? What should I bring? Should I bring water?
Yeah. So for a first timer, and we get these questions a lot, and they're perfectly, good questions. What should you wear? Can I bring water? Those are probably the top two.
Yes.
And I always tell people to wear whatever you're comfortable in.
Okay.
We have people that come on their lunch breaks from work, so you can do that. If you just sit in a zero gravity chair or even on the floor with a blanket, you're not going to get salt all over you. And it's dry and cool in here most days. It's never going to be hot. And if
You're
we're
not
in
sweating
trouble.
in here. Yeah.
You're not sweating
You're
in
not
here.
sweating. Unless you're like really hitting the yoga
Yeah,
hard. Right.
yeah. Even then, you shouldn't be sweating much. We do gentle yoga.
Okay.
So yeah, it's whatever you're most comfortable in. Just wear something that lets you relax. And you can bring a water container with you. That's perfectly fine. We offer some tissues and baskets just in case, you get a tickle in your throat. I always tell people we don't require socks because the salt is antibacterial, antifungal, and anti-inflammatory. But you might want to wear socks your first time because it's crystal salt. And if you have tender feet, you might not be sure
For
if
the
you like
sensation of it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's pretty simple. You can really come as you are and just enjoy. Just try to bring, we don't restrict phones from coming in because I know nowadays people, get kind of anxious about that if they're disconnected from their phone.
Sure.
But I do recommend if you can leave it behind, leave it out in the reception area. If not, put it on silent so it's not disturbing you or other people in the room. Yeah.
Of course.
Of course, we welcome photos before and after the section.
Yes.
Too.
Yeah. Good. It's a very photogenic spot for sure.
Yeah. And
the lighting's so good. Everybody, I bet, looks so
it's
young
very
and
soothing lighting in here. It's like sitting by the fire or something.
Yeah, definitely.
Candlelight.
Definitely. And I'm sure after these sessions, you just go home and have the greatest sleep of your life.
I mean,
you were
most
telling
people
me
do
earlier.
say they find they sleep better after salt therapy.
Yeah, and you were saying earlier there's a lot of studies that salt is really related to like quality sleep.
Well, and I know magnesium is also related to sleep, and that's really nothing to do with sitting in the cave, but because potassium and sodium and magnesium are also related, and people, that's what Epsom salt is magnesium. So if you take a hot Epsom salt bath before bed, that's one of the reasons you probably sleep better. But the cave is full of, the pink salt it's got magnesium and iron and potassium and all kinds of other trace, manganese and cobalt. I mean, I can't even list them all. Mm-hmm. There's 84, so it's a lot.
Periodic table.
Yeah. But yeah, it's the grounding nature of it, I think, and the fact that your nervous system really truly can let go in here is probably what allows people to go home and sleep easier.
Yeah.
That and maybe being able to breathe.
Sure.
Because if you can't breathe at night, that's a big issue with trying to get good sleep.
Definitely.
It's a big deal.
And just the wellness part, like the mental health, being in here and how cozy it is and how you're able to disconnect. I mean, but it's all combined.
Yeah,
in some way. And sleep is like, nobody tells you that sleep, like when you're a kid and a teen and in your 20s, like it just comes so natural, and it's like I covet a good night's sleep.
I know.
The older you get,
it's just more difficult, and it's also still just as important to get that sleep. It's not getting sleep can be connected to so many health problems.
Totally.
But yet we don't
because you're
really
regenerating. Right?
Yeah,
You're
exactly.
supposed to be.
Yeah, your body's healing itself during sleep, and luckily you can also get some of that regeneration during a deep rest. So if you can do a deep rest, whether it's for 45 minutes or even 15 minutes, it's something that, can benefit you.
Mm-hmm. You mean like a full nap, or?
Either a full nap or just where you are in stillness. Mm-hmm. And I tell people a lot because they'll say, I just don't know if I can sit still for 45 minutes. And, I remind people that, it's a practice. One, it's not something that if you're not used to it, you may have a difficult time at first. But I recommend that people come in, take some really slow inhales through the nose, exhales through the mouth, and try to extend that exhale a little bit further each time, and maybe do 3 or 4 of those really slow rounds of breathing, and then just kind of let go and let the body take care of itself. And most people find that being in the space plus doing that, they're just able to relax more readily.
Yeah.
So that's my advice for first timers. Just come in and have that experience.
Yeah.
And then if your mind starts racing or wandering, it's okay. And that's another thing, people think they have to turn it off or shut their mind off.
It just feels really impossible
Yeah,
sometimes.
I think it is pretty impossible. But I always say if you notice that your mind is racing, you're present. Just noticing that means that you're present.
Oh, that's good advice.
Yeah, just let yourself notice it and don't judge yourself, and then try to bring your attention back to that breathing.
Yeah.
And that's the beginning of meditation right there.
Definitely.
Which is helpful for all of us if we can just set aside the time.
Set aside the time.
Yeah.
People think, self-care has to be these like, things that you buy and these things and oftentimes it's like the little moments too that can really.
Yeah, and just making it part of your routine.
Yeah. Consistency.
Yeah, and I do tell people, like, if you buy a package of salt therapy, you can bring your sessions, pretty low down on the price. Granted you're spending one time, but you're more inclined to come more often. And then we also started a subscription service so that people could come unlimited. They can come 3 or 4 times a week. Yeah. They could come every day if they really had the time to do that.
Yeah.
And it makes it super affordable, and then you're more likely to get yourself in here regularly. And we have several people signed up for the monthly subscription that,
I bet.
they'll come 2, 3 times a week, once a week. If you come once a week, it's paid for itself. So
yeah, so then more than that, and you're really getting.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
Yeah. One of my favorite clients, she came, she could not breathe. She wasn't sleeping because she couldn't lay flat. She had to sit up to sleep, and she was coughing, and she had been through the doctors. Like there was nothing contagious. There was nothing actively happening. It was just this like leftover crud. Mm-hmm. And so I said, look, if you can manage it, try to come 3 days in a row. And the Salt Therapy Association recommends, certain kinds of, protocols. So we follow their recommendations, and they say try to come a few days in a row, or 2 days and then skip a day and come back. But I just said try 3 days in a row and see how you feel. And so she said she would. The second day she couldn't believe how much better she felt, and the third day she said I'm doing a subscription, and she's been our client ever since.
All in.
And she is breathing, and now she only comes like once or twice a week. And it's just amazing to see her transformation. It was really fun to see that.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So consistency too.
Yeah, it's the effects are cumulative. So if you can come regularly, it's the theory is that it's boosting your immunity because it's keeping your system cleansed and reducing inflammation, and you're not building up anything in there.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of customers that come in like the second they think they might be getting a sinus infection, because you can kind of tell.
Definitely.
And they'll be like, oh my gosh, I think I'm getting a sinus infection. And they'll come in for 2 or 3 sessions, and most of the time they'll call and say, oh, it knocked it out. So I'm like, yeah, it's amazing.
So it's like preventative.
Yeah. Salt therapy the salt is, it's antibacterial, so it does make sense. And if you can catch it early before it gets a good hold, sometimes people can
knock it out.
Yeah. And of course, we still have to be careful and say, like, it's supporting all this.
Sure.
It's not curing anything.
Sure.
But, you can do the math in your head. It's antibacterial and it's anti-inflammatory. So those 2 things alone make it worth giving it a try.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And there's no side effects, which is nice.
Yeah, of course. So you've mentioned a couple of things that you have planned in the future, but in general, like, what are some future goals, and where do you see Salt Cave in a year or 5 years, or what do you think?
Well, there's always room for growth. And, one thing we get a lot of requests for is, can we do more than 2 foot soaks at a time? So right now we only have 2. So maybe down the road we can add more foot soak capability. I just love entertaining, different events and practitioners, and we've had a lot of different events. Some of them, fly, and some of them, are kind of met with resistance, if you will, but we're always open. So that's kind of where I think we're headed in the future. It would be great to have a salt booth. That's one thing I would like to maybe get in the future, get invested in.
A salt booth to go to festivals?
Well, I have the tent for the festivals, but a more permanent booth would be nice too, because it's just a little, more private and nice for the people that want to come in and maybe have a little bit of the ambiance, but not
like your own private little cave.
Yeah, it's kind of like a little sauna, but instead of a sauna, it's a salt cave.
Okay, very cool. Very cool.
Maybe stay tuned.
Yeah, sounds great. Well, this has been so much fun.
Well,
I can't even, I know, I'm like, my mind is reeling, because I'm like, well, what do I want to start with? The foot soak, that sounds like it's a popular
it is
option.
Popular, and it's a lot of people will do the foot soak and then do a salt cave after. We've even we call it the triple detox, but some people do the sauna, foot soak, and
I think,
all 3.
I think I might have to do that sauna foot soak.
Yeah, and the sauna combo is also super popular as far as that goes. Yeah,
fun. Okay, cool. Well, thanks for letting us come here today.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks for coming in, and we'd love to have you back for some real salt therapy.
Sounds great. I'm in. I'm doing it.
And breathe. We always say breathe and be well.
Oh, I love that. I'll try.
Oh, thank
Not
you.
I think